Hello everyone, welcome back to the art channel. Back again with a video. Today I'm just planning on covering just some super basic stuff like how to hold your pencil and just how to what kind of strokes you should be kind of aiming for when you draw, and just kind of how to be more confident per se in your line work and all that. So I'm just gonna get in here real quick, mess up the paper, whatever. We're on digital today. I'm on Clip Studio Paint, but you can do this same stuff on your sketch pad. I'm just doing this out of convenience because I don't have the best lighting right now for that, but oh well. I'm just gonna move on. So anyways, so what should your goal be when you draw, right? So when we draw, like when we hold our pencil, we don't hold it like a normal, like when you write, you're gonna hold it like a normal pencil, right? If you want to write, write my name, right? So I'll just, so this is just me writing like as if it were normal, let's do trombone, who cares, right? So right now we're drawing from the wrist, not from our elbow, not from our shoulder. We're drawing from the wrist, basically. Or not even our wrist, mainly like almost just our fingers almost. We're barely even moving our wrist. But, like TRT, like, yeah, so you're not really using the full movement of your arm when you do that. You're only using, like, basically your wrist at that point. But in drawing, you want to go ahead and move from the wrist and expand into your shoulder and your elbow, right? So if I just draw from my wrist, I'm only gonna get so much movement, so it's just draw like a little arc. So using only my wrist, right? And then by the time I get to like here, I start to like lose a lot of my range of motion. So I can only go like maybe this far with just my wrist, maybe like that much, like not much. But once I get back here, it's gonna get kind of uncomfortable because I'm moving back into myself, and it's just kind of difficult. So, so drawing from the wrist isn't necessarily bad. Like you can draw from the wrist at certain, like just to do like small details and that sort of thing. If I'm doing like, whatever. Like if I don't have to move that far, I'm just doing detail work. Like that's fine. Like I wouldn't really need to use my whole arm, anyways. But let's just do another example. Let's take those away. So this is from the wrist, right? So let's do my elbow. So no shoulder, just my elbow. Trying to, it's like kind of like that, a little bit. Not really using my shoulder, just the extent of my elbow. So let me just use my full elbow like this. I can do something like that, maybe, and then I get back to here, and then I start to like stiffen up, just a bit, So there's that, right? It's a little bit of elbow work right there. So that's what your elbow looks like. So this is the wrist. That's the wrist, and then this is our. So this is way too big. Come on. So this is our wrist. Right there, and then this is our elbow. Excuse my horrible writing, sorry. Right, that's your elbow. Right there. Whatever, right? And then let's move on. Let's do our whole shoulder. So let's go back. I was using the bigger one, just the bigger brush, just so it's easier to see. So if I use my whole elbow, I can go across my entire pad, right? So if any of you guys play like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Whoops, zoomed in quite a bit. Whoops. So if I use my whole elbow, I can use the entire drawing pad that I have here, and that's what you're gonna use for like when you're going for big, big long strokes, and we want to like get really far off on the page, right? So if we want to get like nice long distance, then we're gonna want to use our whole elbow, or not our whole elbow, but our whole shoulder. Sorry. So I've moved from the wrist, so just like little movements like that, then elbow, like that, and then we have big sweeping motions we do with our shoulder, right? That kind of thing. So let's do one big one, like, you know? So when I use my whole shoulder like that, it's a lot easier to get across the page with a clean line, you know? So that's why we kind of do that. Oh, I just did it again. Okay, anyways, so that is our shoulder, whatever, right? So there's just a big difference between all those movements, and you should be aiming for, like I said, one clean line, if I didn't say that already. So like I said, there's a big difference between just like these little not really super, like, I think they call it like chicken scratching or something, where like you scratch the line like that, right? So you like do a line, but then you do it again, and you keep breaking it up, like that kind of thing. So I think they call that, like, what, feathering the line or something, which is just, again, not very, we want to try and avoid this. This is like very tedious, and honestly just there's no confidence in it, so it's just not very good. So instead of doing that, right, so instead of doing multiple strokes like that, we want to aim for something maybe more like this. So let's add some dots, dot, dot. So once again, let's look at this real quick, right? So let's go up here, right? So if I'm up here, I'm going to want to use, I mean, most of the time you're going to want to use your shoulder. Like, your shoulder is going to be very useful to you. So it might be kind of tiring to use your shoulder at first, but if you get used to it, it's going to just be way better. Like, you're going to be able to get those big strokes, and like, again, we want one stroke, one clean stroke, right? Versus a bunch of small ones, which isn't as good. So when we do these, like, again, this is an exercise you could do if you want, is these straight lines. And if you want to, which might be a good tip, is to ghost. And what ghosting means is you just like do the motion over and over again, like that. But like be deliberate about it. Like, we're gonna start here, right, and we're gonna end here, or something like that, right? Boom, boom. Sorry, there's a bunch of dots on the screen. I'll start drawing anyways. So when I do this, like, the best way to practice it is just to like plant your pencil and then be deliberate about when you're gonna do it. So right, boom, 1, 2, feather a couple times, like just go back and forth. And then when you're confident, right? So like pretend that like you're gonna draw the line, but just don't. Right? That's what ghosting is. You're just like boom, right? Pretend that you're gonna do the motion all at once, right? Like a strike, right? And then do it, right? That's kind of the idea. So boom, just gonna feather, right? Get the feel for it, and then bang, like just all in one stroke, which is a lot better. So again, you could do like these types of things. So, and you can do it from like anywhere. So it could be like vertical. So you could feather vertical. I actually have a super hard time with these on digital because I don't practice these a whole lot, which I should, but I don't because I'm lame like that. But and then, like I said, I'm not feathering or not ghosting there, so probably making it a little bit harder for myself. So if you need to go slow, like, that's fine. Boom, like really feel it, and then try and go all at once if you can. Again, this stuff is like, you get better at it over time, and doing these exercises should help you. But you know, again, you could do this from anywhere. You could do this down to the side, you know, like it could go any direction. It doesn't really matter. So I'll just do like a couple quick ones, like boom, like that. So I could ghost a bit, sorry. So like the idea is you don't want to rush it too much. Like boom, right? It's got a feel for this one. Kind of made that bit off center, but whatever. Boop. That. Right? That kind of thing. That wasn't very straight, so I just was like, whatever. Okay, boom. None of these are very straight anyways. But as long as you just ghost it a bit, like just get a feel for the line. Boom, like that. 1, 2, 3. You know, you're just gonna get better lines like that, so it's a little bit better. You know what I mean? Right. Got a longer one, so now I'm really gonna have to use my shoulder, and I'm gonna have to go all the way across. And again, these things are gonna be very difficult the first time you do them. Definitely took me a couple tries. Like, and honestly, still to this day, I'm probably gonna mess this up. So, a couple times, but that's why it's called practice, right? Again, I should probably be ghosting again. Ghosting really helps. It's very good. You should probably do that. I probably should do it more, but like when you do it all like fast and confident, you know, that feels a lot better than doing the chicken scratch thing. Like, that's not as good. So just gonna boom there. That was actually super nice. Bang. I'm like pretty good at this, so I can like kind of almost guess on the first try. But again, if you're just starting out, like, I would highly recommend you ghost first, get a feel for it, and then try and strike. Because again, once you put the line down, the line's down. You know, I mean, you can erase it, but like, we want to try and over time, if we want to get faster, we just want to, you know, get it done in the first or second try if we can. But again, no one's perfect, so it's, you know, no biggie. Just gonna do it again and again, and we're just trying to train our shoulder, right? Make sure that we're using our shoulder because it's very useful, and it's how we're gonna get across the whole page, right, without as much hassle. So, right, and then these little smaller ones, I'm not gonna need to use as much movement, but even with the smaller ones, I still use my shoulder because you just get way more range of motion. So bang, 1, 2, 3. So even with these little ones, I'm still using my shoulder because it's just so much easier. Then these ones, I don't have to use as much shoulder. I could probably even just use a bit of wrist, maybe even elbow action there if I want. Elbow, elbow, a little bit of wrist. I don't know, like. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys, like what I mean by that. Right, so ghost a bit, bang, 1, 2. Right, so these are really good, just like the straight lines, right? But we just want to get that one good, clean line straight, like that. There we go. Right, and that's kind of how you want to approach a lot of your other lines. Like, we would just want to have that confidence. So those were like some straight lines. Let's move on. Let's do something else. Okay, so I'm gonna move on from straight lines here in a second, but another great exercise that you can do is like these wheels. So if you like draw like a circle kind of thing, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just being a little picky. That's all. Whatever. But you can like put a center line right there, like a little dot, and then you could just, you know, bigger the circle, right? The more distance you have to go, and then you can do like these sorts of things. These are really great, actually. These are awesome. I should have went all the way up. So again, ghosting is good. See, I need to practice those. These are hard for me. Right, so can boom. So that's a great exercise that you can do for straight lines. All right, now we're gonna move on to some like ellipses and stuff. So watch. So the straight line, like, that's just only one of the things, but it's probably like, again, this is all like where you're starting from. Like, holding the pencil properly is like, and using it, you know, your whole arm, like that's like before anything else. Like, that's the most important thing, is like you need to be able to get strokes down, you know, like in drawing you never stop doing that ever, so like you can't like ignore it. Like, you're gonna need these things, like it's just unavoidable. So there's no point in not practicing them at some point. Like, you should practice them, because again, you use these things all the time, like always. Like, you know, you can't be going like out there with, you know, without a game plan, you know what I mean? So like getting comfortable with holding the pencil is like important, and like and your style of holding the pencil and like how you know, achieve the result that you want, like that's going to change, and it's going to be different on the person, like how they do it, you know. I'm just giving you tips on how to like help with that. All right, so now we're going to do some ellipses. I'm going to draw like some just straight lines. So boom, again, I know we're doing straight lines, but it's whatever. Cares. Okay, cool. That's good. Let's do another one. Let's try a little straighter. There we go. All right, so there's a bunch of lines, right? That's going to be like my guidelines for this. So when you do ellipses, right? Again, we're still using that same philosophy of 1, our shoulder, like using our shoulder, and then 2, like getting And then we use ghosting, right? We can ghost, right? And then we're gonna go for like one clean line. You actually, with ellipses, you could probably run it over like once or twice just to make sure, like, get it good, right? So again, it doesn't really matter. So again, we're just gonna ghost, right? That motion, that ellipse motion. Again, you're not gonna be super good at this the first time, but with some practice, you'll get the hang of it, right? And then, you know, you'll again ellipse, kind of like that, right? Let's do it again. That's not very ellipsy. There we go. So if you want to run it, so again, ghosting is really good. I'm not very good the other way. I'm good this way. You know, but this is going to train your brain, like, to not draw just a circle here. Like, this is more of a circle, but this is, right? That's more of an ellipse because we're going a bit more vertical like that, right? And again, like I said, you use these things all the time. All the time. So, like, there's no point in not practicing them. You know what I mean? I'm going to draw a little bit more vertical-ish. It's going to be a little bit tighter of a ellipse angle. That kind of thing, right? You know? So, yeah. Then I could do it from the side, like this. Maybe angle it up a bit. Who cares? Like, go a little really wide. Doesn't matter. But that ghosting method really helps, and then just following through with it, you know, like that. That's solid. Let's go the other way just for fun. So yeah, again, like I said, hopefully that makes sense. You know, we're trying to go for keep the momentum, and then it, you know, as long as you ghost, like I said, like this, it should come out pretty nicely. And like I said, you know, just give it a couple whirls and then leave it. Right? Like I said, this stuff all gets easier. Just gotta practice it. Right? And again, these are all things I can work off of. Like, you know, again, like I said, they don't have to be perfect. Like almost all of my circles and ellipses have tails. Like, where's the tail? Let me, like that. That's a tail right here. This is a tail. This is a tail. This is a tail. You know, like almost all of my ellipses and circles have tails. It's just with repetition, right, and practice, you're gonna have less tail because you practice, right? My circles, like, oh, let me show you guys. Almost all of my circles like have tails, or if I would put it like this, like my circles would be super lopsided, and they would have tails. So they look some like kind of like that a bit, you know, like they have like these really bad tails like that, and that kind of stuff. Like it kind of gets better, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it gets better the more you do it, if that makes any sense. Like, if I apply those other principles I just talked about, like ghosting and, you know, using my shoulder, then it gets a lot easier, you know. And even if there is a tail, which there almost always is for me, like, I just kind of ignore it. Like, it doesn't really matter, you know. I still got a circle, you know. I still got the thing that I was looking for, right? I don't really care about the tail. I don't know if that's just me who gets tails. Maybe other people do, you know. But I know for sure that I can't draw perfect circles, but they're still good enough to get the job done and give me the information that I need, you know. So again, like this, I did it again, you know. But as long as I just, you know, ignore it or maybe just erase it, you know, it's like whatever. It's still a circle or something close to that, you know. Again, so like if you just apply those techniques, like talking about from the shoulder, ghosting, and then going right, and you just give it a whirl, like practice it, like maybe once a day, like maybe for like 10 minutes, you know, you're gonna hash out. Like, again, seriously guys, the idea of drawing a perfect circle or anything close to it, or straight lines or anything like that, all that stuff at first was like, didn't seem real to me. Like, I didn't think you could draw, like, I'm telling you guys right now, if you give me a ruler, I'll still draw it off somehow. Like, I will still mess up a ruler straight line drawing. I don't know how, I still do it. Like, you know what I mean? So like the idea of being able to draw a straight line without a ruler, like, didn't even seem possible to me. So, like, same thing with circles and some other stuff. Like, it just didn't seem possible to me. But it is possible. It's just the technique, right? But when you're in school, right, you're not. No one teaches you to draw from to work from the shoulder because you don't need to. In school, you don't. You just write, and you know that it doesn't require your shoulder. Just you don't need it. But in drawing, you definitely need your shoulder. Like, you know what I mean? And then it allows me to draw straight lines without a ruler, right? And because I can do that now, right, relatively well, now I don't need a ruler. I don't have to like bust one out every time I want to draw a straight line, you know? So then, now I'm not focusing on, oh God, I need to draw a straight line, I gotta pull the ruler out again. I don't gotta worry about it because I already practiced this enough to like get a good enough line for the purpose of drawing. Okay, anyways, let's move on. So basically, like, yes, like, in drawing, you want to, you know, we want to use the basic shapes. Like, we use circles, right? We use circles, we use squares, like these, you know, in drawing, right? What do we use? Circles, squares, maybe a triangle. Not all the time. I don't use a lot of triangles, but you know, circles. So circles, triangles, squares, ellipses, right? That sort of thing. You know, those are all basic shapes that we use in drawing, right? You know, that sort of thing. But we don't, if we don't know how to like use, you know, use our arm, you know. Even the most basic shapes, which is like the key to drawing like almost anything in like how to draw anything, right? If we can't like do that part, right, then it's going to be really difficult when we need to use those things later, because how do you expect to draw something when you're too focused on, oh God, I need to draw an ellipse, which is like the basics, right? Right. So we want to get so good at these things, right, that we don't even think about them when we do them, right? So when you put into practice and you know, get used to using your arm, right, and, you know, right, then I don't have to pull out like some smoosh or anything, right, to get what I want, which most of the time is just like ellipses or circles or, you know, square. Like, I don't have to like, you know, use tools or anything because I already, you know, I have the, whatever, the muscle memory to do it, you know? So, like I said, so we want, like, again, like I said, the basics are there, right? Square, whatever, right? But if we can't, like, execute it, right? If we can't, you know, use proper form with our shoulder and all that, we can't even do the basics, which is, like, the most important thing, right? So, it's really important that we actually put time into, you know, learning how to, quote-unquote, draw correctly, or whatever you want to call it, right? Just getting comfortable with strokes, right? You know, we don't want to be shy. We want to be confident. We want to not have to think so much about, oh God, every little line. You know, like I said, I'm not making fun of you guys. Like, I have struggled with these same things, but you know, there's a big difference between, oh yeah, there we go, a circle, that's awesome, right? Versus, oh God, circle thing, oh no, right? And then we just sit here all day and we erase it. Oh no, that's not a good circle. Oh no, we can't do that. All right, try again. Oh no, I'm not trying to make fun of you guys. Like, I'm just being serious. Like, right, when we use good technique, right, you know, we're not gonna fall into that trap of like, oh well, my circle isn't absolutely perfect, so I guess I'll have to. Nope, not good. You know, none of those are good. But most of the time, your circles probably are good enough. They're just like, you're just being picky because we don't have the right technique, right? And just making it difficult, right? So when we don't have to think about these things, you know, then we can actually get to the actual drawing, right? So, again, I really hope this makes sense to you guys, like why I stress this, like why it's important, right? Because right before the basics, it's actually how to hold the dang pencil and use your shoulder and all that stuff, right? And people like tend to skip over that a lot, so I find that pretty frustrating. So anyways, All right, I'm gonna do one last thing. So once you get the hang of using your shoulder, right, and ghosting, like I said, so boom, like that. Oh, probably don't go back and forth like that just once. There we go, boom. Right. So once you get used to that, right, and then once you do that, right, then we're gonna move into the circles, and the ellipses, and the squares, right, and the what else? Maybe triangle if you wanted to. I don't care, right. Right, that's the next step, and then after that, then we can do this, all right? So like I said, so once we move on from our line practice, we can get into the shapes, and then once we're done with the shapes, then we can combine the two, all right? And when we combine them, this is how we can do it. And this is kind of where like guidelines kind of come from, right? So if I draw a circle, right? Being a little picky, sorry. All right, there's a circle, all right? So now I'm gonna use my technique of drawing the shape, right, of using the shoulder, and then I'm still gonna do similar things, but now I'm just gonna, you know, if I want to draw like a guideline kind of thing, now we're gonna use some sweeping motions, which again I'm gonna, there we go, a little bit, something like that, right, or maybe just once, right, kind of thing. So now we're like combining things into each other, like that, right. Does that kind of make sense? All right. So, once we are able to combine these two things, right? Now we can start getting to what I call, or what some people, I guess, call wireframing. So now what I want you guys to do is use those two things that we talked about, right? And then now what I want you to do is try your best to like, let me explain. So with wireframing, we're trying to like feel it as a 3D form, not a 2D one, because in art, it may seem that you're drawing on a 2D paper, right? But you're making the illusion of 3D. So, like, let's talk about this. So, boom, right? Not 2D. This is not flat, right? Right? It's not flat, right? We don't, you know, that's not what it is. So, what it actually is, it's 3D, right? Let's draw another circle, whatever. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is actually 3D, right? It's not 2D, it's 3D. Okay, so, and how do we know that? Well, a circle, like a sphere in real life, you know it's not two-dimensional. You know it's 3 dimensions, but when we draw, we're drawing a 2D surface, right? So it's easy to think, oh, this is just flat, right? Like that, right? Like it's just flat, but it's not, right? Because spheres in real life have light that bounce off of them, and you know all the other schmooze and jazz, right? You know, so like they might have like a highlight right here or something, and then it might be like deep in shadow over here, right? Kind of thing, right? Right. That's a sphere, right? So we're not drawing 2D circles, right? We're not drawing flat stuff. So like not flat. My writing's horrible, right? So not flat, right? It's not 2D. So when we draw things, we're trying to think of them as like 3 dimensions, right? Not 2, because it's easy to fall into that trap of like, oh yeah, you know, everything looks like this, right? And there's nothing else to it, right? But that's not the case. Like almost everything you draw is like probably 3-dimensional, right? So anyways, like I said, so we're not drawing 2 dimensions, we're drawing 3 dimensions. We just have to think of it that way, and the way we do that, right, with wireframing is we draw a circle. That's not okay. Draw a circle like that. There we go. And then what we can do, right, with our wireframing is we can like outline, you know, like the face of the object, right? So we're just gonna pretend like, you know, we're gonna pretend like this thing has a face or something, right? So when we outline it like this, boom, kind of like that, right? So now we're like actually feeling the form a bit more, and we're like getting a feel for the topography of it, like, you know, all the bumps and the divots and all that, because again, these things aren't flat, they're 3-dimensional. So like I said, boom, and then let's do another one, kind of like this, right, or whatever. So now we're not thinking of it as like a 2D object anymore. Now we're thinking about it as like a 3-dimensional object, right? Which is the kind of mindset you want to have when you're drawing, you know, most objects, right? Is that they're not like I said, not two-dimensional. So I draw a square, you know, like more than likely if I just turn it just a little bit, right, it could turn into like that, right? If I just turn it. But when I'm looking at a like a triangle like that dead on, like this, right? So if I look at it dead on, like straight, right, or whatever, right, then that's assuming that I can, so with the camera, right, right, or the camera, like the way you're looking at it, right, so from this point of view, right, I can see this face, so this face and this face, right, like that, right, but if it's a front view, like this, right, then I can only see one face, because I'm looking at it perfectly straight on, right? So I didn't draw like symmetry lines or anything like that, but you know, it was like straight like that and then straight like that, right? That means I can only see the front face, but that doesn't mean that there's only one face. That just means that the way the camera's looking, I'm only able to see one, you know. But there's technically a second like face behind here, right? You just can't see it because of the angle, right? So I draw like some, let's draw like a little, let's go, I'm gonna erase this. So if I draw like some guidelines, like trying to draw through the form, right? It's gonna look something like this, right? So say that the vanishing point goes maybe about here-ish, right? Something like that, cool. And then we do this sort of thing, right? Boom. Sorry, apologize. And then this is gonna go like that. Or let's draw like, all right, there we go. Hopefully that angle or that X-ray doesn't hurt your head a little bit, but you guys kind of see what I'm talking about, like this is let me draw like a one, two. Oh god, this is kind of hard. 2, 3, like 4, right? So boom. Again, this is a face down here. This is a face up here. This is a face back there. This is a face. And then, you know, if I hide all that, you know, then it would just be the one face, like this, right? Does that make sense? So when you're looking at, like I said, when you're looking at a triangle like this, right, front facing, you know, this and this are the same. They're the same thing, right? So this and this are the exact same thing, right? They're the exact same object, just at different angles, right? So like I said, when we turn it front facing like this, right, like that, right, then we can only see one face because of the angle we're looking at it. Versus this one, where it's more of a 3/4 view, we can see two faces, so 1 and 2, and then the rest are hidden. But that doesn't mean that the other faces aren't there, right? They are there. They're just hidden because of the angle that you're looking at it, right? So I draw like boom, and bam, like that, right? Do one of these, bang. Right? So the faces are still there. You just can't see all of them depending on the angle, right? So let's do 1, 2, 3 over there, 4 down here, 5 over there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's multiple faces. You just can't see them all, right? Anyways, so let me move on. There we go. So like I could, if I wanted to, I could like even split this up into multiple faces if I wanted to. I could do like, because like with the head, right, there's like the side plane or whatever, right? So I mean, this could be its own plane. So this could be like flat, right? Boom. So like this is like some head stuff that you'd probably run into, right? So like this bit could be flat, right? But then this bit, it could be like 3-dimensional. So like that, right? Boom, boom, right? So you realize how, like, you guys see like how I'm not thinking of it as like just a, you know, flat object. that you can only see one side of, you can see multiple sides of it. It's just like, you know what I mean? Right? So then when we do the contours like these, right? The, whatever, the, I keep forgetting what I call it. Like the mesh. I'll just call it a mesh, right? So this is the mesh, and then we're just like feeling it out, right? Boom. Like the form. There we go. Boom. Maybe like one of these. Some, right? But I'm like trying to feel out, sorry. Trying to like feel out the form, you know what I mean? So like doing these, boom. Right, so if this bit's flat, which it is in this case, right, then these bit is rounded, right? But I'm like feeling it, like, yeah, like I can almost feel the form, like almost like I'm touching it, you know? So this is just really good practice to do that. Just like when you do draw your objects, right, you know, go for, like, try and feel it out, right? So let's draw like a cube or something. My lord, my lines are bad, but whatever. I'm drawing a bit big. I want to make this a bit smaller. Boom, boom. Sorry. Cube, cube, cube. Okay, there's a cube, right? We could do something like that. Similar, we could do like a straight line up here, or some, right, and then back, and then across. Right? Do you guys see that? Like, I'm like feeling the form out when I do this like mesh kind of thing. Like I'm just feeling it out. Boom. Like I know it goes straight like that. Right? Boom. And then down, straight. Right? This is also straight. Kind of. I kind of, again, it's a little bit of a messed up square, but you guys kind of get the idea. Let's do it with like a natural form, right? Let's do like wobble, wobble, wobble. There we go. Let's finish that off. Sorry. Right, so this right now, this doesn't have any topography yet, but you can like try to imagine that there is, right? You can kind of add your own. Like let's make this look like it's like one big round shape, right? Like it's super, right? So let's come out and then back down, like that, right? Boom. Let's go nice and big and around, kind of like that, right? You guys see that? Like I'm giving this once, like it used to be flat, you know, shape. Now I'm giving it 3D, like I'm giving it form. I'm giving it something, right? So let's go back, let's go around this. So let's imagine there's another like big circle kind of thing, right? So maybe we could go like, let's give it a little dip. So I'm just gonna imagine there's like a little dip down here or something. Let's go like this, boom. Down. Again, this stuff is like actually a little bit more difficult than you'd think it is, but it's really good practice. Okay, sure, something like that, whatever. Comes down to like a dip. So I don't know. Like again, you just, there we go. Heck, let's do this. Again, my brain is moving kind of fast. Like might not make sense right now, but you guys just kind of look at what I'm doing. I'm gonna imagine there's like a little bit of a lip here on the top. So it's gonna go something like this, right? Now it's got like a top plane or something. Maybe do one of these bits. Something like that. Right, okay. Sure, why not? Let's do like a, kind of thinking here. Fill that out. Alright, did you guys see that line just now? This one, let me highlight it actually. This line right here. Do you guys see that? Like once again, this once 2D form has now become absolutely 100% 3D because I've been like feeling it out. Like I gave it shape, right? I kind of like took these circle things and I tried to like imagine like, okay, well if this was 3-dimensional and this was like that kind of thing, right? Then be more like that, right? I hope that makes sense. I really do. You know, but now, like, this is like maybe a flat plane up here now, right? Kind of like that, right? This curves down a bit, maybe a little bit less. Bang, bang, maybe like that. Flat, flat, flat. Flat again, like, yeah, it's really weird. Like, might be kind of like hard to understand right now, but yeah. So when we just take these things and we give them a shape and form, right? And the nice way we can do that, right, is using our, you know, again, this is all once again stemmed from just your ability to throw lines down on the paper, right? Like, that's where all this stuff comes from. So, all right. So anyway, so like I said, so if you like, if I were to shade this now, like if I were to like give it proper like lighting and shading, right? Then it would look like something I could like grab onto, right? Like something I could use my hand to grab, squeeze, like, you know what I mean? Because that's more believable than just like, well, you know, I'm not saying that this is bad, right? But like, do you feel like you could grab that? Like, do you feel like you could hold it, right, in your hand? If the answer is no, then it's probably like it probably doesn't feel super three-dimensional, right? Whereas this, I feel like when I look at this, right, that I could probably hold it in my hand, right? Like maybe I don't know how I'd hold it. Maybe I put my palm under here, right? Palm, sorry. Right, maybe like that, right? You know, and then maybe my fingers come up here. I mean, who knows, right? It doesn't matter, all right? It really doesn't matter, okay? Trying to imagine this a bit, right? Who knows? It doesn't matter, but I feel like I can hold it, right? Like, that's great. That's awesome, right? So that's just kind of like what I call the mesh lines, right? It's what gives a shape form and what makes it feel like three-dimensional, and what makes you feel like, oh yeah, I feel like I can, almost like I can feel it, right? I don't know if you guys get what I mean with that. I hope you do, but anyways. All right, so again, you can do that with anything, like literally any shape. Like you could do another one like this, right? Right, and you can still do with this. You could like give it some boo like that, or you know, do this some curve, boom. Let me go through the center a little bit. Trying to imagine this a bit. Again, I'm seriously, guys. Like at first, it is so weird. Like your brain will not be able, like it'll twist your head up the first time you try and like do these types of things with the mesh. But after a certain point, like you'll get a better feel of like how things curve in space, right? And that sort of thing. And it'll allow you to, like, again, like I said, give a 2D form that was once two-dimensional and make it feel more three-dimensional. Because you'll be giving it this mesh, and you'll be going around the curves like that, right? And it'll feel more, like I said, three-dimensional. Boop, boop. Right? So, you can do that with literally anything. Like, almost anything. Alright. I'm going to move on to my last point. I'm going to move on to like these, I don't know what art pieces these are, but I'm just going to go over to them real quick. Right, so something you can do is, I guess you could call it tracing, but like not really. Like, so let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'm going to lower the opacity of this image, and I'm just going to draw over it, all right? So we're going to make it nice and, you know, low opacity, and then let's look here. Okay, I got to fix that. There we go. All right, so if we like trace, right? So the idea is we don't want to like just do this, right? Boom, bam. Let me lower my pencil a little bit. All right, so this is not what we don't want to do. We don't want to just outline it like that. That doesn't really teach you a whole lot about how to actually fundamentally draw the thing. Like, don't get me wrong, tracing is great. Tracing can actually help you with that other stuff I was talking about, like the pencil, like just getting a feel for it, right? You know, feeling these things out, like that's good. Like this isn't the worst thing to do. But after a certain point, we're gonna want to instead build these things up with basic shapes, right? So, like again, our cylinders, our circles, our ellipses, right? So let's just take a thing here, right? So like again, this is one of the big things, right? That I made this mistake too, where it's like, okay, if I draw a circle, right? It's not again, like I said, it's not flat, right? It's not flat, right? This is still a sphere, right? So the thing with spheres, right, is that you can, a sphere will look like a sphere no matter what angle you look at it, right? So for some people, they'll look at a circle and think, you know, that's 2D, right? I know I already talked about this, but you know, they won't imagine like, oh yes, this has got form, right? And it's like 3-dimensional, right? But every time you draw a circle, you're not drawing a circle, not a 2D one, you're drawing a sphere, right? A sphere that fits into other things, right? So I'm not drawing just 2D circles, like for no reason. They're spheres, right? They fit into space, into 3D space, right? So let me those are like some circles, right? Maybe do it again here. Right, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here in a second. So circle, circle, again, circle. Right, bang. Okay, right? So again, I'm not drawing flat circles, they're spheres. You just don't realize it at first, right? That's what those are, okay? And then I'm gonna draw some ellipses for her arms, right? So I'm gonna draw an ellipse for like the side of her chest, so like where the arm might be coming out, kind of like that, right? Yeah. So let's do it again here. Just imagine like, all right, right? Because if I were to like square her off, then those arms wouldn't be there, and then all you have left is like this little, like kind of like that, right? Of that, right? Of the ellipses of just that part of her body, right? Whatever. You guys get the point, right? So, boom, that, and then her, what could be like, you could consider her shoulder socket, whatever sphere thing, right? And then what we can do is, let me choose a different color. Let's do like red, I don't know. There we go. All right, now let's draw some like spheres. Or let me actually color code this. Let me do green for the circles. Green, green, green. Okay, we're gonna do green for the circles. We're gonna do red for the ellipses. Okay, red, red. Okay, let's do a couple more ellipses. So we're gonna do one like that. There we go. Show you more like this. There we go. Ellipse. Shoot. Okay, there's an ellipse, and then here's another one. All right, cool. So this circle, right? When you erase the top and bottom bits of it, it's just going to be sitting neatly into those two ellipses, right? So let me try and erase that maybe. You guys see that? So now the circle, right? Now the circle fits inside of the, let me zoom in a bit, just for you guys. So now the circle fits inside of the two ellipses, right? Does that make sense? Like, it's not, like I said, once again, I'm going to say it over and over again, which I've said multiple times, but it's not 2D. It is 3D, right? It is 3 dimensions. It's just, you know, for the purpose of her arm, it's just shoved in between the two ellipses, and then let's do a different color. Let's do magenta for the cylinder bits, right? So we got ellipses and then circle, and then we're gonna have like a just, you know, it's gonna connect off, and we're gonna have a cylinder of some kind. So boom. Sorry guys, boom, and then kind of like this. Oh, there we go. Right. The cylinder. Let's do that. There we go. I'm gonna do it again. Cool. Nice. Let's do another red for this ellipse because I didn't draw it. Do another one here. Trying to imagine this one. There we go. Boom, and then it's probably gonna be one of these. So let's go back to the cylinder bit. Right, boom. Like that. Nice. Maybe I'll just that sort of thing in there. So like I said, boom, there we go. And then we're gonna start a new one over here. Whoops. Like that, right? So again, the circles fit in the sockets. They fit. They just, you know, like they're just shut. They're just connected in between the, you know, the cylinders. And then, like I said, if I erase this, if I erase, right? The circle. So the top of the circle, you're not going to see that anymore. And then, you know, the circle, it's there. It's just kind of lodged in between the two ellipses, right? You just don't see it once you erase these things, right? Cool. Right? So let me, if I unsee, there we go, right? So I was able to construct those arms, right, out of the pure shapes that we talked about from earlier, right? And then if you want to add on top of that, just to have more understanding of the things you're drawing, right? Let's just use blue, I don't know. Right, and then if we want even more understanding of the forms, right, we can do the meshing I was talking about, where we can like try and feel it out, right? This is a we know this is a cylinder, so it's going to be a little spherical like that, right? And then our straight line is going to look something like this, like down the middle. Sorry, I'm a little shaky. There we go. Like that's just kind of like the center line of it. Center line, like that, right? And then we can do these, like those. And then another thing that might help, like just a small detail you guys might miss is, so when you're doing these contour lines, like I want you guys to like feel like you're touching it, like you can feel it, like you're grabbing onto it, right? So when you do that, I want you to draw, and then I want you to like come back into the line. So what I mean by that is it's going to go in. You know, don't just draw like willy-nilly like that, right? Don't just do that, okay? Like I want you to actually like you're feeling it, right? So boom, you're gonna come in here, and I want you to like feel it, like go back into the line and then feel it like that, right? So you actually feel like you're pushing into the object, right? And it actually feels like you're touching the edges of it, and you're like, ooh, yeah, go, right? You feel that, right? It doesn't, again, it's not real, like nothing here is real, but it just feels that way because of the way we're drawing it, right? So you're like, ooh, go back and forth like that. Oh, there we go. That feels good, right? I don't know. I hope that makes sense, you know? Right, again, nothing is flat. It's all 3D. It's just, right? It's just boom, right? Turns back into itself, right? Like that. Back into itself, right? Then down here, back into itself a bit. Right? And then it feels a little bit more three-dimensional when you do it like that, because you're not just throwing a sphere or, you know, one of these down, right? Or whatever it is, right? And then just be like, all right, there's a line. Oh, you know, like you're not just throwing it down, right? That's not what you're doing. You're feeling it. Like you're like, oh, there we go. I can feel the cylinder, right? Like you feel like, you know what I mean? I'm praying that this makes sense, you know. But then if I go down, like I seriously, guys, I don't know how to explain this. Like when I do this, I feel like I'm touching the object. Like I feel like I'm actually there touching it when I do these lines. Like I feel like I'm there, you know. Like that, like I'm having an experience where I like feel like I'm holding the object, right? And then because I do that, right? There we go. I'm feeling it out, right? Then I can really like I feel like I understand the object now. Like I don't feel like I'm just looking at something I don't understand. I feel like I'm looking at something that makes sense and that like I could hold in space, right? Boom. Right, so it just feels good, and then, you know, whatever, right? Again, I'm hoping that's good. So, right. So again, like I said, nothing is 2D. It's all 3D. You just don't realize it at first, right? Okay, and then I'm gonna like just add a couple bits with the contouring here, and I think we'll end off there. But I really hope this was like super insightful for you guys. Let's add some more. What was he doing for ellipses? Red, right? So it's probably ellipse for her neck. Another one up here, kind of thing. I'm trying to imagine this, right? So then it goes like this, right? Ellipses were red, right? And then cylinders were, that doesn't really matter, you know, but let's do like, let's do her abdomen a bit. Right, that's a cylinder. This is an ellipse right here. So, like that, that's an ellipse. That's an ellipse. This could be an ellipse right here. Right, that's an ellipse. And then what we're doing for circles, green. So like there's a big old socket right there, right? For your legs, I don't know, right? And then what was it in purple or magenta for that? So come down like that, right? Ish kind of thing, right? Okay, these aren't perfect, but you kind of get the idea, right? Boom. Boom. It's gonna turn in, right? Like that. Oops. Again, I really hope this makes sense. I know I keep saying that, but I'm doing my best to like iterate what I mean by this stuff. Let's say her chest is another cylinder, so it could be like red again. Like, let's say we could do like top of her chest, right? Boom. Like that. Oh. Right. Let's do some magenta again. Yeah, magenta. Do you guys see that? Like, let's go back again, right? Right. So, like all of it's there. It's all there. It's just, you know, like, just gotta think of it that way. All right. If I'm being honest, guys, I'm gonna end the video here. I think I made my point. I hope that was useful to you guys. I'm gonna have a lot of editing to do because this video is really long. But if you guys watched this far, bless you. Like, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I hope this was useful to you. I'll see you guys later. Let me know down in the comments if this was helpful. If I find other videos that I think could explain it better, or it's the same topic, I'll link those down below if I can. But yeah, have a great day, guys. I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much. Bye.